Hi, my name is Jimmy Kim, and um, I'm the educational consultant with Accelerate, and also a co-founder. We also have Chris here and China here. Chris is the founder and the CEO, and China is our dearly beloved academic coach and also our center director. So I wanted to start out talking a little bit about the current challenges and the background of why we are doing what we are doing and what brought us to here and what makes us different. Um, if we can go to the next couple slides, 2 slides. All right, so there are a lot of challenges I think that our students and our parents face, and as well as schools. So first of all, there's no user guide or job on the job training for the students to do their primary work. When we get a new job, one of the first things that we do is we get a learning manual or a job manual showing us what to do. But especially with learning and now with e-learning, many of the kids feel like they're just thrown into the situation and having to make that abrupt change. And of course, parents are also thrown into e-learning. Sometimes, well, initially not as a choice, it was a mandate, but now with schools resuming, many different schools are taking different approaches. And for example, our kids, we have two grade school students, and we are starting our semester fully online. And I know some students or some schools are doing different things. And on that note, many schools and teachers are also at kind of the learning curve of what e-learning is supposed to look like. And one of the things that we see from our school district and a lot of other school districts is um, teachers are doing what they can and doing an amazing job and putting in a lot of effort. So we truly feel for them and commend them for that. But a lot of times, what they're doing seems to be kind of a reflection of what they have been doing in class, except we just moved it to an online without really having much time to think about what does new learning look like in this new environment and the new pedagogy. So that creates a lot of gap between what used to be and what the new learning is supposed to be. And I really like this quote about how the new digital divide isn't really about who has the tools, but it's about how the tools are being used. So I think before we think about the divide, I think first we have to learn to survive this new time, and then we can think about how to thrive from there. Um, so slide 7, we talk about what we do to bridge that gap is one of the things that we do is we try to think about what already works in teaching and learning, such as human-to-human interaction, modeling, and coaching. And we try to integrate that into the latest tools in learning technology. Like, for example, like great curriculum and great approach to learning. In essence, what all of that means in slide 8, and next one too, is we all know the old adage about teaching the kids how to fish rather than catching the fish for them. So we bring in learning science-based approach to helping students develop good learning habits. And we center those around the 4 domains and 20 learning habits across these 4 domains. So whether it's schoolwork that the students are doing or supplemental learning that they're trying to do to catch up to their grade or moving ahead, whichever the curriculum that the students are using, we try to use that to instill good habits on a daily basis for the students. Next slide, please. And we're not going to go through this in detail, but a lot of what we know about traditional learning kind of focus around remembering, understanding, and maybe applying some of the concepts. We learn all these facts, and then we kind of reproduce that on a test. And that's kind of what we think about as, or what we're used to learning. But by integrating habits and helping the students think about their learning, we're incorporating a lot of these other ways of learning and showing what they know. So if you look at the next slide, this is like an updated version of that Bloom's learning taxonomy, but this talks about what do I know? Is it factual, conceptual, procedural? And how am I using what I know to show what I know? And one of the misunderstandings about the Bloom's taxonomy is the lower ones are like, kind of like easy learning, and the higher up you go, the better it is. And that's really kind of true, but not exactly true, because we need to have the students apply and kind of go up and down these stairs or the pyramid of the Bloom's taxonomy, so that they can learn all of these things and practice these things together. So as we talk about the 20 habits across the 4 domains, first week we're going to focus on goal setting. And why goal setting is important, I think we all know why goal setting is important. And if you look at the next slide, we talk about a few things. But to summarize everything, I think goal setting is most important because it really helps the students learn 2 very important distinctions. First is the difference between a need and a want. And the second is the difference between trying and training. Because if I want to, there are certain things like running a marathon that no matter how hard I try, there's no way I can do that today or tomorrow. But I need to spend time training to get to that point. And I think that is what we are trying to have the students do. So at this point, I want to invite Chris China to talk about how we are supporting students with goal setting and what parents can do at home to support the students in their e-learning, so that they're not just trying to survive, but how do we use this opportunity to thrive and instill those good habits. And because of time's sake, we'll probably talk about just 4 of these under our goal setting domain out of the 6 that we have.
Thank you. So we, in our Accelerate Learning Studio, before this remote and e-learning has started with COVID, way before. So since 2016, we have started this practice and helping students and families to understand what will help them to maximize their learning in this with this digital tools that they have. So we developed 6 of them under goal settings, and then we're going to go over all of them. But as you can see the next slide, we will the one before, that we will only talk about 1 to 4 and 5 that will be applicable to like a home setting, and the other G3 and G6 that we're using might be a little bit difficult to try at home. So we're going to start something simple, something easy, and then we're going to talk about what else you can do in challenge. So between me and China, who has been practicing this with our students in our classroom over 3 years, China will give you some examples or how we do use it in our classroom, but what that means to the students, and then I will kind of give you what it will look like using those same tools at home. So so we're in this, e-learning as a parent, and we're partnering with the schools. And myself as a parent, I feel very ill-equipped that they have years of trainings and they have their own, methodology and teachings and materials and resources, and we're just barely catching up on a day-to-day. And I feel very defeated and stressed and frustrated. And I hope this will, by discussing these tools, that as a parent, how you can use this at home will give you a little bit of a positive outlook and say, I think I can do this by using these tools, and I think at the end of the day, I feel like I am successful as a partner with our school districts and with our kids. I know a little bit more, and I have a little bit more confidence in myself and my child that on a daily basis I am conquering. I'm doing something positive and productive, and making some progress. So with that, I will introduce G1, which we call it goal setting and planning. So China, would you help to understand how this is being used in Accelerate setting?
Sure, gladly. Welcome everyone. I'm not sure who's here, and I'm not sure if any of you have had the chance to work with me or I with you. But I'm really excited to be here this morning and talk to you about how we apply our goal setting in our online environment. It's so critical. Goal setting is so critical. After our initial introductions of, hey, how are you? What's going on in your life? How are you feeling? And after our quick discussion about gratitude, because that's something that we also believe in. And so we cover gratitude. What are you thankful for? And we're aware that a lot of the students are just like, oh, I don't know, pencils. Sometimes they just throw out random things. They just want to move on ahead. And as time allows, sometimes I do push them a little bit more on the gratitude front, just because it just kind of sets a good tone. Before we even go into goals, like what are you thankful for? And kind of just create a positive learning environment just from the start. And then we kind of dive right in. And advanced students know right away kind of the goals that they've been working on. But we like to challenge them as well. They have a choice. They have goals that we give them. So in quarterly meetings, we give them goals, or if they're a new student, we give them goals to start with based on our coaches' feedback. So we get feedback about every child after every single session, and not just about one subject. If they're doing two, we get feedback about both topics. So we're able to work as a team and decide, these are the goals that we think would be good for this student. They're having a hard time remembering how to bring their notebook every time. So we're going to work with them. And so we'll start by reminding them and say, hey, did you bring your notebook? But we hope to transition this child to a state where they know that goal, they've internalized this goal, and they jump right in and they say, oh, my goal is to be on time and be prepared. And they throw up their notebook and they say, I've got my notebook today. And then we know we've got it. Okay, that's perfect. And then over time we can move on to a new goal. But this part, setting the tone of what you want to do, is just extremely important to us. And we love it when we see them start to embrace this, when they can look and not only just blurt out a random number and say, oh, I just want 100%. I want to be perfect today. We love it when they can say, oh, I was working on a project last time. My goal is to finish that project today. That to me is a strong goal. And we give them feedback on that and say, that's a good, strong, positive goal. I like the way you were thinking about what you're working on and the rigor, the difficulty of it, and deciding what you're going to do with your time today. So that's how we apply goal setting with your students in their online environment. We start our day, we have them set goals, but we also have given them guidance beforehand on what good goals look like for them.
So tips for e-learning for you at home. So this goal setting might be really a new idea for your child, actually, because as an adult, we've heard this goal setting is so important. As an adult, we see the value of it, but we actually in our classroom, we really, sometimes it's awkward for the kids to say it out loud, and you know it, I know it, we're just gonna pass it. But when there's a power, actually, when the kids actually either write it down or say it out loud, what they're going to finish, even as a goal, even if they don't finish and complete the goal at the end of the day, there is such a power to actually the exercise of setting goals. So as parents, I encourage you to not slack off and actually do consider, I mean, defining what the goal is itself is a great exercise to do it at home. And if you can actually write down your goals, and it will really help you to I think it really help you to visualize it even, right? So when you write down and be able to see it, and that's the reason why we make our students do this exercise every single time they come into our classroom. And for you, that means maybe because you're doing the e-learning or remote learning at home, you might have to have the kids say, at the end of the day today, these are the things I need to complete, okay? So there are two components to it. Doing it, even if you feel awkward, and they will protest and they will say, I do not know what my goal is. So even if you have to suggest one or two, and start small, okay? Start small with something that you, at the end of the day, what you want them to see. And then as a parent, you will have to model it. So in our classroom, we do have 20 items that they can choose from. And but for you, and you might have to actually model that in the beginning, and then eventually have them to own their goals. Don't feel discouraged when they cannot come up with this very defined, well-defined goal for themselves. They can't do it at the beginning, but eventually when you do it on every day, and then you set the expectation and tone, they will be able to do it. And so the next one, something that we challenge you as going a little bit deeper for yourself is, so that's the first two tips are for you to survive. You can quickly, easily implement. So you write it down and then do it every day, try to do it every day. But going deeper is that what is your vision of what a successful day at the end of the day look like, right? I want you to think about that and even be able to write it down. If you can verbalize it, your child can verbalize it. You're doing this to help your child to be able to do this. So it can be very simple thing. At the end of the day, let's say your goal is to, in terms of amount of things, which is reading 2 pages book, or finishing this worksheet at the end of the day. It has to be very specific and measurable goal, and we can talk about that later. But something for yourself, how you can see a successful day will look like, and write that down for yourself, and that will transmit to, you will be able to model that to your child, and then your child will be able to learn from that. But if you can move beyond what I need to do in terms of the amount of work to do, so we define that as an academic goal. So projects to complete, or homeworks to turn in, worksheets to finish. So those are the things to do. But not only that, like who I want to become as a learner. So our school district call it a learner quality. So there are a lot of things that you could actually incorporate, like be responsible, be motivated, and things like that. So so those are the 2 items that if you want to go a little bit deeper. Okay, the next item. So the meeting goal is not only set the goal, but the action of actually try to meet that goal. So so at the end of the webinar, you will receive this template that we use. We clean it up so that you can modify to meet your needs, and that you can define your own goals, academic and personal and things like that. Our template is being used as a daily success plan, is predefined, but there are tools that can help you to achieve those goals. So not only the goals are there to just set and then move on, it provides accountability. So one of the reasons why we set the goals and encourage them, and Jimmy talked about it earlier in the webinar, that how these things are helpful, the goal setting is helpful. And one of the things is when you write down, when you've defined the goal, you could tell how far you're from the meeting that goal or not. And and that will also help you to reflect why it's not helping you to meet those goals. So China, can you give us a little bit of a look what it looks like and how we use it in the classroom, in our classroom?
Sure. So in the classroom, before a student wraps up, another very important step we have is talking about, have they met their goals? And this is where we really challenge them, because this is where I think the bulk of the self-reflection really comes from for that student. This helps the student and the coach to understand if their goals were actually reasonable. If the student decided, I set a goal of answering 60 questions today, and they answered 15. Well, that right there is kind of a lesson enough for them to say, so were you able to meet that goal? And if they say no, then we'll challenge them. So why do you think you weren't able to meet that goal? So we try to help them to better understand what reasonable goals look like. And internally, when students complete a whole grade level in one program or another, we give them the reward of sending them at this juncture an electronic gift card. In the physical environment, we let them choose a prize, because as humans, right, we love the prizes, and kids love getting that small reward of finishing a grade level. But the reward, the value there is really you learning to set a goal that's reasonable for yourself, outside of what the instructor is telling you, of learning what you can accomplish as a student. And then the reward of feeling that, yes, I met that accomplishment. And even if I didn't, I know what to do next time. So that's another big part of our philosophy, is helping them also better understand what they can do to meet those goals, or adjust the goals if they're not reasonable.
So as a survival tip, so the quick and easy cheat sheet, there are 3 points that we want to offer. One is use whether meeting this goal or not as a reflection point. So reflect on your goals daily. And at the end of the day, could mean, right after school's over, or after dinner, or before you go to sleep. You need to review these goals were met or not met. And the key is to make reflective, not critical, like, why did you not meet these goals? And why were you being distracted? And, kids hate being in that, being cornered, and had to come up with some sort of excuse. But to really have them to honestly and authentically assess where they're at and how they're progressing, and as they measure whether they met the goal or not, at the end of the day, investigate and learn what caused the goal not to be met, and also if the goals are met, then again, what China said, celebrate the small success, and you can set those milestones on your own, and you can see how how excited kids get when they meet those goals. That can be a little thing. That can be just a small candies, or spending extra time, or you get to choose, certain things. It's something that we do it at home that kids usually get it, but we just spin around and say that that's your reward, and they just get so excited about it. I think just make sometimes kids play along with it because it makes them feel special and grow. But there's a caveat to it. Let's not to make this as a trophy, the sympathy trophy, and really focus on the effort they've put in. It's not just, oh, check off and cross cross it off and say like, oh, you get this done, but how they really put a meaningful effort in it, and as a result of it, how they can see their own growth through it. And I can't stress enough the importance of this, making a habit of doing this every day. I mean, yes, that in itself is a huge stress, doing it every day, but the point is be consistent, right? Be consistent. Yes, you can forget it. You can, you had a busy day, you have to pass it, but setting the goals and looking at the result of the goal, a reflection of it, if you just can keep it going on a consistent basis, kids will be able to see that not only I set the goal, but I am accountable to it. And my parents, my families or friends who are important in my life will be accountable for me to keep this goal. I think that itself says a lot. The next one is a going deeper challenge is maybe you and your child can keep a journal of the progress, and so again, writing it down so that you can review it in the longer term. So in our studio, in Learning Studio, we do the quarterly review, quarterly visit, and you can see after week after week after week that you actually have grown so much, and being able to accomplish something that you thought in the beginning that wasn't that wasn't possible, or my child can sit through 30 minutes no distraction, things like that, that you'll be so proud of it. And then connect goals with time limits or durations. So what that means, as you continue this exercise, you will help your child develop a sense of urgency within the time limit and prioritizing. So what that helps is, as the achieving goal becomes a norm, it will really help them to see that within the certain time to achieve this goal, I need to start thinking about strategically what is more important things than the other to do. So to let's say to finish 20 items, I need to hold my urge to go grab water and be able to finish this, and then I will grab I'll grab a glass of water. It really helped them to push to that limit. So that's the next one. So hopefully it's not it's so stressful. And then let's go to the next one. So the next one is persistence and focus. So it is about, so student is able to sustain and pay attention to his or her task with goal-directed persistence in spite of this distractibility. So we just talked about, going and grabbing. It's so easy when you have multiple kids at home. One says something into their classmate and the other one says, what? And, in our classroom, we have multi-grade level students, and if they want, they can really distract each other. So, and the bathroom breaks and whatnot. And another distraction is the technology itself, right? They don't have the device being charged, or headphone is not working, and then again the physical distraction could be fatigue or boredom and things like that. So yeah, China, would you give us a little bit of an idea how we're using this in our classroom?
Sure. So for this particular area, this isn't something that we have to work on with each of our students because some of them naturally already have it. And we can see that at home with our own children, especially in multi-child households. You have sometimes one child that has no problem at all tuning out outside distractions, but the other one, the slightest sound from outside and they're distracted. So we praise those that are able to maintain their focus, but for those that can't, we work with them. We help them to acknowledge if focusing and pushing through tough problems is an issue for them, and if so, then we talk about that kind of at the beginning. That feeds right back into our goal setting. So it creates kind of a nice little loop there. If we observe that staying focused or pushing through when it gets hard becomes a problem, then we say, okay, that's something that we need to work on. What can you do next time? So we encourage them, small steps, and you can do this at home as well. If they're allowed to, we'll say, if other students are talking back and forth with the instructor, it's a little too loud. Now, don't mute completely, but turn your volume down a little bit so it's not so loud in your ears. Make sure that you close any other tab. Sometimes I see that students have other tabs open. They share their screen. I see Roblox is open, YouTube is open, and I'll say, I'm sorry, I really need you to close those other tabs because the temptation is there. Your brain doesn't want to do something, it hits a wall and it thinks, oh, I'll just click here for just a moment. So we encourage them to close the tabs, any tab that's not related to the task at hand. If it's not an Accelerate tab, we say close those tabs. Make sure that your environment promotes learning. So if you have a choice of where you sit, you should sit in a location that's not right near your little brother who's maybe watching TV or doing something else. And we're also happy to work with our parents and families, how we're doing now, just to help get them into an environment that reduces those distractions. So in a nutshell, we talk about it. We find out what's going on. If there's a problem causing a distraction with them, if they have a problem pushing through, and we help them to work through those issues and partner with them to kind of formulate a plan to reduce those distractions and push through when the going gets tough.
So again, this topic of, being able to focus better and being persistent is actually, again, a tool. So we use all these items to reiterate, to reflect what is the underlying cause of this this issue of boredom and fatigue and other distractions. So it could be physical, again, I said. It could be the device and technology, and really try to figure out what is the core of the issue. So one time we had one student who was, having a certain attention span level that we know he is capable of, but all of a sudden he was very tired, he was very distracted. He will easily give up, and he will easily irritable. And in our quarterly conferences, we mentioned this, and the mom said, "Oh, he was we're doing fasting during the Ramadan, and so he probably was hungry," and that really gave us a good idea of the cultural background, where the student came from, and we were able to measure this and be able to compare from their performance before. So as you do this, setting goals, reflect on a regular basis, that will give you some idea of a deeper look into why this child's focus is being disrupted, right? So for us, in our coaches, in our setting, academic coaches know of each of the students and their typical attention span. Like China said, some students have no problem going 40 minutes, and there's one, a set of siblings. One is, I mean, easily distracted with just a drop of rain, and the other one, no matter how loud and distracted this other child, he can focus on 40 minutes, no problem, without even a headphone or nothing. So, it could be individual thing, but at the same time, knowing that that child's attention span and focus is affected by certain things. So one, by removing those distraction, which is, the second point, but two, that you can, measure and then try to improve those attention span. So knowing how much your child can actually focus. So using, as simple as a kitchen timer and measure them. Like maybe their usual attention span is hopefully maybe 10, 20, even 30 minutes, right? And give them a challenge and saying that within those 30 minutes we set, try to not to get up, try to not to grab things, and you can do that later. And by doing that again, you can help them to prioritize what is important, what is the goal that you need to accomplish within the time limit. But not only doing that, knowing your time limit, you can actually incrementally increase attention span over time. And then go over that that you can challenge your child to do that. So and not only yourself, but the child himself or herself is aware of how long I can focus, and then break down their task within 20 minutes I can do this or not, things like that. So knowing that, it becoming, being aware of that, that is very important in that sense. Okay. All right, the next one will be, I think the last point, which is the motivation. So we all struggle, right? The motivation is something that we all struggle, and say that that there's a short term the candies and carrots and sticks, and so we help them to motivate, and eventually we want them to be inspired, this long-term goal to be a better person, but in reality that's not true. We all have to use circumvent the situation and say, well, you will get you will have to, in our household we have to use the online time, using device time as a motivation, and how your child is motivated by certain things, and so we're going to talk about certain things, how we're using it in the classroom, and then eventually how you can do it at home.
So in the classroom, motivation, this actually, and if we have this description, so for us, the motivation comes from accomplishing your goals. So this, again, loops right back around to goal setting. If the student doesn't know how to set strong goals, reasonable goals, then they may not meet those goals, in which case we start to see their motivation just slide down. And so this is why, at the very beginning, setting reasonable, attainable goals is really important, because when a student meets those goals, the rewards, as Chris said, the candy of it is great, but they themselves feel wonderful when they've met goals that they set for themselves. Like the candy is nice, but the look on their face, that sense of accomplishment, says it all. And it keeps them motivated to continue to set reasonable and attainable goals and work hard towards meeting those goals in the future. So it all starts with good goal setting. And if we see their motivation is lagging, now we try to get at why it's lagging. And this can be just a myriad of factors that play into that. And it's really hard sometimes in a small setting to get at what might be driving a loss in motivation. But we do try to help them to figure it out, because we know and the same thing will apply in school. An instructor is not going to know in a class full of kids why this one student is maybe just a little bit tired today or not answering questions today. So it's key to communicate with them and say, hey, what's going on today? Have you hit a wall? Is this tough for you? Why aren't you asking me any questions? And again, this feeds right back into saying, okay, well then that's something that we need to work on. If you find that you're struggling, but you're not communicating, this isn't helping you, and then you're staring at your screen. So we need to work on asking questions so you can maintain your motivation and maintain your pacing. And so being that cheerleader is also what we do. It's a huge part of what we do, of saying, hey, we're here for you, but you've got to take the step of asking for help, and we will jump in and do this for you. And then being that cheerleader after the fact. They meet that goal, we're like, yay, that's amazing, you met the goal. I always ask them, how does it feel? Doesn't it feel great when you've met that goal? So being that pillar of support is really important for us as a company, of kind of partnering with your child and saying, hey, we're there for you. Many times, if they have gotten into the habit of setting goals, that gift card at the end is something they've sometimes forgotten about by that point. They've been working on all of these other little goals, and then at some point we say, hey, you finished a whole grade level. What gift card do you want? And they're like, what? I did? Oh, that's amazing. I don't know. I guess Starbucks. I don't know. So I love that little moment of clarity that happens. And they're like, wow, like I was meeting all these other goals and I finished a whole grade level. So setting good goals at the beginning, helping them to figure out how to meet those goals, helping them figure things out for themselves, and then just being that cheerleader when they meet those goals and starting the cycle again of setting new things is super important. That's what we do in the classroom.
Right. So being a very strict person I am, I used to say, and then noble ideas of internal goals will motivate our children, which, serve me, failing miserably with my own children, knowing that they will, cave into a piece of candy more than a long-term goal. So for you at home, don't feel defeated that motivation doesn't come within, but most likely you'll have to start with external motivation, something that they can easily attracted to. Make it fun and appropriate and get them on board, include their opinions, include their ideas into that, so that they're, but start with something small, very small, and but you will be surprised how it doesn't have to be material thing that doesn't cost you anything. Like I said earlier, I know I see this all the time at school for teachers. Who's going to be the line leader, which makes them so excited and be proud of themselves doing something that's important and then achieve that. So make it fun and appropriate. Even at home, like we have 2 kids, and I said, you'll be the line leader to the lunchroom, and they'll just get a crack out of it. But it's just fun stuff between our family, and they will buy into it, and then eventually move on. And then I keep on explaining to them, it's not only for this, it's not only for the piece of candy, it's not only for this, but I want you to be, really excited about what you're learning, what you are capable of, and what, eventually even beyond that. And as a challenge for you, as you
before that,
I
just jump in real quick.
Yeah.
So I work with, this doesn't apply only for grade school students, but I think it applies for older kids as well.
Yeah.
So I work with a school of about 30 high school students, mostly juniors. And when I walked in, I said, I decided to ask them, what are the things that really motivate you?
For the SAT class, you mean? Yeah.
So what are some of the things that, maybe we can give you or do for you, celebrate with you to help you be more motivated? And the answer that they overwhelmingly gave me among most of the students were stickers. Stickers.
Yeah. Not even candies, huh?
Yeah. They're like, it's been such a long time since I got stickers for doing something well. I really want to go back to that time and, collect stickers. And they were just having a ball trying to collect all the stickers that we had.
And I think, that again, like a person, like a strict person I am, I hate even giving candies. It will, we'll have to pay more, dentist bill. But what it signifies for them, that's what was important to them. That will keep them going. And that, sometimes, every child could be different. It could be just verbal praise, or a little gift or time you spend. So that you can choose depending on your one household, two different kids can one what they can be motivated to buy different things. But again, something going deeper a little bit, as you keep on doing this, you will start making the association between the setting goals, achieving them, and the rewards, and can move from intrinsic the extrinsic motivation, the rewards, and the visual things to the intrinsic rewards and motivations. And also it will help students connect something deeper, such as helping others, or developing hobbies, physical activities, and things like that. So incorporate something that will not only just to help themselves and serve themselves, but to serve the community and whatnot. So that is it for how we're using these tools, these ideas in our classroom, and how you can bring that to your home to make your remote and e-learning more successful.
Awesome.
So as a next step, is there any questions or comments we can receive from
Yeah,
here?
feel free. We don't see anything in the Q&A right now, so if anyone does have anything, feel free to drop it in the chat box. But otherwise, I think while those come through, I think we can continue and introduce the daily success plan. We add another slide to show what the document looks like. If you want to speak on that and show how we can apply these techniques daily and build those daily habits.
Okay, if you can.
Yeah. Oh yes, I'm controlling this.
So yeah, you will receive this in email as a gift from us, and in there are many components that we use. So we use as a daily success plan, and there's a preset, pre-made questions and things. But for you, we incorporated in such a way that it can be adapted to your situation. So as you can see that we, China talked about, what I'm thankful for. There's a little bit of beauty in that we make ourselves, be more grateful, promote the gratitude of things that we have, but also in something practical like supply checks, it helps you to minimize the distraction again, the physical distraction. Also the academic goals, the amount of things that you need to do, or the reflection of it, and then some of the reflection questions that we use in our classroom that you might want to look at it and use it with your children. So yeah. So you will be receiving a copy of it, and feel free to, pass it to your friends and, use it for yourself, even give it to your teachers, see if that, helps them to help their students to progress better. Okay.
So I did see I've got a little notification in the Q&A box, but for some reason the little window isn't open. I want to try now, Chris or Jimmy, if you're able to open the Q&A and see.
Sure. It says, any tips on calming kids down when kids struggle and get frustrated?
Ooh.
Okay. Anyone wants to take that on?
I'll jump in. I'll just briefly talk about what we do in the classroom, and I think this works well at home as well. Chris and Jimmy are really amazing at this, though. But I'll just say that we do have that, and it's not uncommon for kids to get very frustrated for a variety of reasons. Oftentimes, it has to do with not understanding something and feeling like I don't know what to do right now in this moment, and so I'm just really frustrated. So the first thing we try to do is really just to reduce that level of anxiety that's happening. So we don't just jump right in and just say, oh, well, you know, is it because you didn't understand that question? We just say, hey, let's take a moment. Let's take a deep breath. You know, breathe in, breathe out. Maybe stand up, stretch your legs for a moment, just so that you physically, you know, kind of change your environment, even just briefly, even just standing, just to move around just a little bit. If it's really bad, we might say, you know what, it's okay. Why don't you go ahead and take a water break and come on back and breathe in, breathe out. And then we try to address what's causing that moment of frustration. Is it because you know, maybe you're just, you know, wiggly, you've been sitting for a long time, or maybe it really is because you don't understand something and you kind of lack the courage to admit that you didn't understand what was going on. So we try to then calmly assess the problem without judgment, and then help them to move on from that space forward. And then at the very end, we might loop back around and we talk about meeting goals and setting goals and saying, okay, so what can we do next time so that you don't feel this way again? So that's how we handle it. And I find that even at home, I have 3 kids of my own, and they, of course, as humans, get frustrated as well. And I do the same thing at home, and generally it works. Take a deep breath. Take a break from this. Let's talk about it. Let's work through it. And then how can we make it better for next time?
Yeah, I would add that, you know, removing it from that moment of frustration, you know, yourself or your child, sometimes physically even moving into another space, you know, sometimes help them to just change your pace, right? And then it helps you to kind of calm down. But again, I would like to actually ask you, because my first question would be, what would cause that struggle or frustration? Right? As a parent, try to find that with the child first, because just calming the kid down that moment is one thing, but if it keeps coming back, and I'm sure the frustration keeps building usually because there are certain things keep going, right? So you would like to you know, in the reflection time with your child, what made you feel so frustrated if she or he cannot do it at that moment? And I'm pretty sure they can, because they're so pent up and get frustrated, get angry, emotional. So use that, you know, the reflection time to address the deeper issue and see if there's anything that you or your child can do address that.
One thing that I can add on top of that is having the kids deal with frustration actually begins before all of that frustration happens. So one of the things that we do at our center is we give permission for the students to be okay with being frustrated. We know frustration and struggle is part of the learning. So we actually say to them, we know you will be frustrated, and it's okay to be frustrated, but how you express the frustration is also important. So we actually anticipate that kids will be frustrated, and we give them permission to be frustrated, right? So instead of throwing a fit and punching their computers, you know, then, you know, let's work this out. So that kind of sets all the tone for us to be able to come in and do all the things that Chris and China had mentioned.
That was a great question. Thank you. So try it, and we're coming back next week. If you can come back next week and try with the daily success plan, and tell us, you know, give us feedback, what worked, what didn't work. We're also Christian forming a community in the Facebook group in our Facebook page, right?
Yep. So following this webinar, you're going to get access to the recording, the daily success plan, and we're also going to give you a link to a Facebook group that we're going to be starting where parents can just come in, share what's working. All of Accelerate's academic coaches, Chris, Jimmy, everyone will be in there. So it's just a space where you can come in and ask questions and be supported by the team.
Okay, well, thank you for coming, and if there's, we'll be lingering around a little bit more to answer any questions.
Yep. And just to get things on the radar, there are 3 more webinars every Saturday at 10 a.m. Next week, we already mentioned it'll be about time management. On September 5th, it'll be note-taking and organization. And then finally on the 12th, social emotional learning. So a lot more good stuff available for you every Saturday. So we hope to see you at the next one.
Thank you.
Thanks.